Layering creates momentum, alignment creates scalability, and many organizations confuse the two because under pressure, organizations often respond by adding more people, more meetings, systems, processes, but adding is not always scaling. I'm Laurie Karras. In this episode of the Alignment Gap Built for Performance, we'll explore why layering isn't scaling. Organizations often believe they're scaling because the business is getting larger, revenue's increasing, new customers are arriving, so additional employees are hired, new management layers are added, and new processes are being introduced. But growth and scalability, they're not the same. Because under pressure, organizations often default to layering, and layering is often the path of least resistance. Not because leaders make poor decisions, but because adding something is often faster than understanding what needs to change. Most layers are added with good intentions to solve a problem, reduce risk, or support growth. Each decision may make sense on its own, yet over time, organizations inherit the cumulative weight of every solution they have added. Organizations rarely plan complexity, they simply fail to remove it. And layering often creates the appearance of progress while obscuring the underlying problem. So the question becomes not what else should we add? Rather, it should be what are we trying to accomplish? Scalability begins with the outcome. Layering begins with the next thing being added. So imagine your goal is to serve 100 people. You can add layers, or you can redesign the structure. The objective, it remains the same. The path, however, does not. Organizations face the same choice. They can continue adding layers, or they can evaluate whether the current structure is still the best way to achieve the outcome. Because scalability is not simply the ability to add capacity, it's the discipline to continuously evaluate what is no longer necessary. True scalability is not measured solely by growth. It's measured by whether the organization can absorb increasing demand without degrading execution. Because the layering often creates the appearance of progress, but scalability creates the ability to sustain progress. There are a few common places where layering becomes visible. Technology implementations, for example. Every workaround, approval, report, process, and exception suddenly becomes visible. Yet many organizations recreate everything exactly as it exists today while adding new capabilities. Another example is customer experience. An IVR gains another menu option, then another, and then another. Each addition, it serves a purpose. Yet over time, customers spend more energy navigating the organization's complexity than resolving the reason they called. The complexity rarely disappears, it simply moves. The pressure may leave one department, but it often reappears somewhere else in operations, the customer experience, employee workload, or decision making. And because the pressure has moved, organizations often mistake relocation for resolution. So it's worth asking, as your organization grows, are you building capacity or accumulating complexity? Are you solving the problem or responding to the pressure? Because layering relieves pressure, scalability requires intention, and organizations often calculate the cost of growth. They rarely calculate the cost of complexity. At the end of the day, performance doesn't happen by accident. It's built through clarity, alignment, and disciplined execution. Thanks for listening to the Alignment Gap Built for Performance. I'm Laurie Karras. See you next time.